At the closing, the closing attorney who consummates the conveyance, needs to make sure that all of the old debts against the property are paid, so that way the new buyer can take what we call clean title, clean and marketable title. So it will be the closing attorney's job to make sure that this happens, that all the old debts incurred by the seller, or any old debt for that matter, has been paid off, and the new buyer takes over with a clean slate, so to speak. Now, just a quick reminder for those of you not taking that portion of the course, the closing attorney here in Massachusetts would represent the buyer. So if they're paying cash, then the closing attorney will be the buyer's attorney. If they're using a lender, then the closing attorney will be the attorney for the lender. And quick note as well, in a lot of other states, this task is actually usually performed by a title company, but here in Massachusetts, it's going to be performed by an attorney. And they're going to make sure that the new owner gets clean and marketable title. And this is important for the buyer, of course, because they don't want to have to pay off anybody's old debts. And it's, of course, important for the mortgage company, because the mortgage company wants to make sure that they are first in line to get paid the next time this property gets sold. All right, so let's take a look at the rule that the closing attorney is going to follow when it comes to paying off the old liens. And a quick note here, and we're going to cover this later in today's lesson or further on in this lesson. How do they know which liens are out there? Through the title search, which we'll talk about later today. So here's the rule. Lien priority rule. First, I don't like that R. Let me try that again. There we go. First, that's better. Oh, but we've got the S. Silly Jack. First, that's better. First to record. First to write. So first to record, first to write. Let's translate this. First to record, it means first to get in line. And first to write means first to get paid in full. First to get paid in full. So through the title search, the closing attorney and the title company are going to find out all of the prior liens that have been filed, and they're going to find out which ones have yet to been discharged or paid off. Let's just say that they only find 2 outstanding liens. One from the mortgage company and one from a home equity line of credit. Now, the mortgage company lien was filed, let's just say, in 2002 when they bought the house. And the home equity line of credit was filed, let's just say 2010. So in this particular case, first to record will be the mortgage company, because they did that in 2002. And therefore, they're going to get paid in full. They get all their money in full first. They would be what's known as the superior lien holder, before the junior lien holder here gets any money from the proceeds of the sale, because clearly they're going to be second in line. And what usually happens, let's just say we sell this house for $500,000, and the outstanding balance on the primary mortgage is $100,000, and the home equity is $50,000. So after we pay off the mortgage and the home equity line, there's $350,000 left over for the seller. This is effectively the seller's proceeds, not including the real estate fee. Let's not forget that. And any other expenses that the seller might have to pay, like they probably have to pay for a lawyer. They're going to have to record the deed. You're going to have to prepare the deed. but more or less the paying off the outstanding liens is the biggest expense for the most part. So effectively, subtotal $350. The seller will still have some additional expenses after that. This is how it usually works. And once these things are paid off through the proceeds that the sale price generates, which in this case here was $500,000, then effectively the closing attorney who consummates the conveyance simultaneously pays those off. The seller doesn't actually get that $100,000 and $50,000. The closing attorney sends that to the bank, sends that to the lender on behalf of the seller. The seller actually never gets a hold of that. It goes directly to the lender right away through the closing process. The money doesn't go to the seller and then you hope the seller pays off the lender. No. The closing attorney pays that off on behalf of the seller and then issues the seller the remaining balance. This is obviously a case here where the seller had equity in the property, which is, how you want to do it, of course. Who can skip the line? Who can go right to the front of the line and doesn't have to follow this rule? Well, if you guessed the government, you guessed correctly. They can skip the line and they can go right to the front of the line. If they want to. They almost always do, especially if you owe them taxes, right? Of course. The other somewhat obscure answer here, but it's a good thing to know, is the condo association. The condo association, they can also skip the line. They can file what's called a super lien. And yeah, come on now. I don't have much material here to deal with here. That was a pretty funny super lien. You get it, right? I hope so. They can file a condo super lien, and this would represent 6 months of unpaid condo fees, up to 6 months. And they can literally foreclose upon you if you don't pay your condo fees. That's why everyone pays their condo fees, because they don't want to lose their condo for some silly thing like not paying their fees. Even though, nobody really likes to pay your condo fees, but that's the enforcement mechanism, so to speak. Otherwise, like a lot of people would try to skip out on it, of course. So these are how debts are paid off at the closing. And of course, a debt is just a record of a real estate debt is a lien.